Hey friends, it's Len here at 1A Auto. Today we're working on a 2013 Subaru Outback. We're going to be doing rear wheel bearings. It's going to be a fun, interesting job. I want to be the guy that shows you how to do it. If you need any parts, you can always check us out at 1aauto.com. Alright everyone, so I'm going to be taking my 19mm socket. I'm going to put it on my lug nuts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen these up just a little bit. I don't want to go too far, make it so the wheel can wobble around. I have the majority of the weight of the vehicle off the ground, but the wheel is still on the ground to make sure that it doesn't spin while I do this, okay? So I'm going to take my 19mm, I'm going to turn it to the left. I'm just going to break them free. Alright, so I'm going to continue by removing all these lug nuts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start this one, I'm going to leave it a couple threads. Now I can remove the other four. The reason why I'm leaving that one loose like that is just so the wheel doesn't come completely off and fall down and hurt me somehow. Safety first is the #1 concern here at 1A Auto. Alright, I'm going to hold the wheel so it can't fall off. Remove my last lug nut. There it is. I'm going to carefully lower this to the ground. I'll wheel it out of the way. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take our 14mm wrench or a ratchet with a socket, whatever you're using, it's your preference. You do you, boo-boo. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to try to loosen this bolt right here, loosen this bolt right there. Once they're both loose, I can go ahead and remove them, remove my caliper out of the way, and that'll give us view of our caliper bracket. So here we go. Just going to give it a little bonk. Find my other bolt. Do the same thing. Okay. Now these are very loose. I can go ahead and remove them by hand. I am wearing safety on my hands because there's brake fluid here. You can try to wipe it down, make sure it's as clean as possible. If you're not wearing gloves, I would recommend gloves and always safety glasses. So there we go. Here's our caliper. There's our piston. This is the muscle, okay? What you want to do is you want to make sure that you don't see any wetness or fluid coming out of there. If you do, your caliper's bad. If your caliper's bad, you can always order one up. This one looks fine, so that's great. We're going to just wipe it down a little bit and we'll rest it aside. You don't want to let it hang any place because you could put a tug on your hose. If you do that, you're going to end up buying yourself a new hose. If you have any defective parts on your hose, just replace it. It's high pressure. I'll set those bolts aside. I'm going to continue with my 14mm wrench. There's two caliper bracket mounting bolts here. One there, okay? These are usually a little bit tighter than the other bolts. So you could try to whack it with your hands and try to loosen it up. You might hurt yourself. I'm going to go with safety. I'm going to use a rubber mallet, okay? Just loosen it up. Easy peasy. Do this one. Get it on there, nice and tight. Pretty loose. If you're using a long handle ratchet, it might be a little bit easier. So there we go. Both those are loose. Now we can go ahead and remove one. Once that one's almost all the way out, we'll leave it in a couple threads. We'll fully remove the second one, and then we can just relieve the last couple threads on the last one and remove it. Okay. Okay, this one's pretty much almost all the way loose, so I'll just leave it in a couple threads like I said. I'm going to go back down to the bottom. This one I'm going to remove completely. That's what it looks like. We'll grab the second one while I'm holding the bracket so it doesn't fall. Now we've removed our caliper bracket and we have our two bolts. As you can tell, they're both the same. You don't have to worry about mixing them up, so that's great. We'll set this aside. So here's our rotor. This is part of our friction material. Generally speaking, you'll have your pads that will sit inside your caliper bracket, right? You got your caliper over those. When you step on your brake, it squeezes the muscle, the piston, makes the pads go up against the rotor, causes friction, slows you down. So you can check out the condition of your rotor, see how it looks. There's probably a reason why you're replacing it. We'll just go with whatever you're doing it for. I'm going to grab it, just wiggle it, try to pull it off. If it doesn't come off for you, maybe it's stuck on there. It could be because your emergency brake shoes are too tight, in which case you just pull this little rubber out. If I had my pocket screwdriver, I'd do it real quick. You check that, make sure that it's de-adjusted, and you can spin this a little bit. Once that's de-adjusted and you know you can spin it and it's still stuck, if you were replacing this rotor, you can go ahead and whack it with a hammer. If you weren't replacing the rotor, you'd want to use a couple little bolts right here, one there and one there. You can just drive those in and they'll pull the rotor away from the hub for you. This is already nice and loose. I got lucky with this one. Okay friends, so here we go. We're gonna start taking off this bearing now. So what we're gonna do is, if you have access to a long pry bar and you wanted to put this down along the ground, so that'll hold the wheel bearing from spinning while you remove this, you're gonna use a 32mm socket and a long ratchet. Turn it to the left, take that right off. For me, I'm just gonna use an air gun. Still using my 32mm socket like I said. Much easier than caveman style, okay? Now we can move along. Axle pushes through, that's great. So all we pretty much have left to do is there's gonna be 4 bolts coming through from the back side to the front. Feels like my guess would be a 14. Here's hoping, right? We'll see how those come out. All right, friends, we're gonna be coming from the back side of this knuckle now. There's 4 bolts, like I said, that come through from the rear to the front, okay? We're gonna use a 14mm socket. I like to use a little bit of a wobble extension on there. It makes it great because I can move things around a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can get my hand back here to find where the bolt is. I'm shooting blind, so you're seeing me do something kind of weird. Here we go. Make sure it's on. Bonk, bonk. Feels good. I'm gonna turn it to the left, counterclockwise. Oh. It's gonna just fall off like that, but I did get it loose because I can spin it now. So that's nice. I'm gonna leave it in just a little bit, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna remove the other 3. All right, once I have the other 3 off, I'll continue removing this one all the way off, and then we can go ahead and remove the wheel bearing. We'll take out our last bolt. There it is. We'll put it aside, and now we can go ahead. We're gonna come from the outside here, and we're gonna try to take this bearing out of the backing plate knuckle area. So I'm gonna take some of my penetrant. I'm just gonna spray it around where the wheel bearing goes up against the backing plate area. My hope is that I'll be able to get the wheel bearing off of the backing plate and not the wheel bearing and backing plate off of the knuckle. That's my hope. Life is full of it, isn't it? I've got my big fabulous hammer. I'm gonna try to hit right on here without hitting on here or on my axle, okay? I'm just gonna try to hit right here. We'll try to make magic happen. There we go. This right here is just part of where the e-brake shoe is. It's very easy to put back. I'll just push it. But as for now, I'm just gonna look at where I'm at. Looks like you could probably use a couple more whacks. Let's see. Make sure the backing plate isn't separating from the knuckle. Looks like we're still doing okay. Oh. There we go. I'm just gonna take this right out of the way. It's easy to put back. I'm really not worried about it. I'll show you how to do it. So it looks like it doesn't really want to come free doing it like this. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna grab my cutting pliers. I'm gonna grab this spring without trying to cut it. I don't want to cut it. All I want to do is grab it, pull it off so I can bring my e-brake shoe out and away. And then I'm gonna try to use a chisel or a punch. And I'm gonna try to just spin the wheel bearing inside here. Hopefully break it free. Hopefully it'll want to come out, okay? So I've got my little cutting pliers. I'm gonna be very careful, like I said, not to cut this spring. I just want to use them to grab it, pull it away, just like that. I'll remove the spring, put it aside. This right here is my e-brake adjustment. Put that aside. Now I can move this shoe around a little bit. If I wanted to, like I said, I could try to use a punch. I'll grab a punch. I want to go right up against that ear right there. Bonk, bonk with my hammer. See if I can get the wheel bearing to spin to break free. If it doesn't, well, then I'll have to try something else. But what I'm actually physically going to do is I'm going to use my air hammer because I have access to it. And it's going to make my life a little bit easier. And I'm going to try it that way. So I'm using my air chisel. Like I said, I'm just going to try to spin this wheel bearing at its base. I'm not reusing this wheel bearing, so that's why I was okay to hit on it and I'm okay to do this. If I was reusing it, obviously I wouldn't want to do something to mess it up. But since I'm replacing it, that's the purpose of this video. I'm not really too worried about it. I'm wearing my safety glasses. Let's see if I can get it to walk a little bit. So now what I'm going to try is I put one of these bolts back in. I put it in a whole bunch of threads, but not completely bottomed out. Not just a couple threads either. It has to be quite a few threads in. I'm gonna take the right size tool for the job. That's a 14 millimeter. This is an impact socket, not a chrome, so I don't have to worry about it blowing up on me. And I have this little thing, 1/2 inch drive. My 1/2 inch socket goes on, it's great. This is an air chisel. So I'm gonna put it on the back side of that bolt, and hopefully it's gonna help me walk this wheel bearing out. At least that's the idea. So I got it on there, got my safety glasses. Let's try again. Let's check it. Boy, this one's really on there. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to heat up the area. I'm gonna pay special attention to the fact that there is an ABS wire and an ABS sensor on the back side right here. So when I'm heating, I don't wanna spend too much time up where the sensor is gonna be, right? I'll come down here, along the side, along this side, along the bottom. I can even hit it from the back as well, along the bottom, along the sides. I'm gonna stay away from the top, try to keep as much heat away from that sensor as possible. If you have access to this, you can use this. If you don't, you can use something like MAP gas. Just be very careful. If you have a fuel leak in your car, it's probably not the best idea to do this. And of course, wear your safety glasses. These right here are special protection. They're not just basic safety glasses, FYI. So I'm pretty much just gonna heat this up kind of along the bearing / backing plate area. Just trying to heat things up, see if I can get anything to free up. A lot of times you get rust and rot build up in there, causes things to swell and get stuck together. So I'm just gonna spend a little bit of time heating it. I'm not in too much of a rush, but like I said, I wanna be careful not to get too much heat around where that sensor is. And also if there's any springs, you don't wanna obviously heat up your springs because they'll lose their retention. I'm still keeping right along the same area of where the bearing connects onto the backing plate. I'm hoping that I can heat up that area enough that when I spray it with a little bit more penetrant, which I'm gonna have to be careful with as well because it's gonna create smoke. I don't wanna inhale that. The penetrant will wanna soak right in and do its job. I don't have a cutting head on this, so I'm not trying to cut the backing plate in any way. I don't need it to be glowing red either. Seems like it's pretty good. Like I said, I'm gonna spray penetrant. It's gonna cause smoke. Try not to breathe in that smoke, okay? I probably don't have to tell you that. I'm keeping my face away. Okay. I'm gonna switch to my other safety glasses now. It looks like it might be starting to budge. Nice. Like barely starting if it is though. So, since it moved a little bit, I'm gonna try to get some more penetrant in there. Now's the time to do it, right? Hopefully it'll seep into that big old crack that I just tried to make. Come on, penetrant, do your job. You have one job. All right, so it still looks like it's just about the same as it was before. So if it had moved, it pretty much found where it's gonna end. If it didn't move and I'm just seeing things, well then it's still where it was originally. So my next step for me personally would be, I'm gonna fully remove these e-brake shoes. That'll give me more room to swing my hammer. I'm gonna try to whack this thing. I'm gonna go Babe Ruth on it, okay? All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna try to push in on this clip right here. Okay, and this right here is a little pin, comes from the back side of the backing plate. So I'm gonna use my cutters. I'm not gonna try to cut it. All I'm gonna do is grab it and try to twist it. Some people will use pliers, you can do that as well. I just found I get better grip with the cutters and I don't try to cut it obviously, right? I mean, so there we go. Got our spring on there, you can take it off, whatever. I'll just leave it on. I'll put it aside. There we go. We got our little pin here. We can take that out. We'll put this aside too, because odds are when we're doing some hammering, it's gonna either go flying out someplace or to the floor, it's gonna basically not stay where it's supposed to be. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna push in on that clip, grab this with my cutters, give it a little twist. Okay, easy peasy. I'm gonna take out my pin, see if I can get it out. There it is. Go with my clip, put them aside. It does seem like it's adding a whole bunch of extra work, and hopefully you won't have to do all this. If your wheel bearing came out on its own and you really didn't have to do all the heating and beating and all the fun stuff that I get to deal with here, well, lucky you. Maybe you should do a video and show me how. So now I've got a pretty clear view of everything. I can get right in here. I've got my big fabulous hammer, okay? I've got my safety glasses on. I always want to make sure that I'm safe. I'm going to try to come from like this, try to go this way and out, because what do I want to do? I want to try to knock this off. I want it off. That's what I'm here for. I'm trying to take it off. Get mad about it. Move my card out of the way. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Yeah. So we've got the backing plate separating from the knuckle at this point. So that just means that the bearing is sticking inside the backing plate, essentially. And of course, it's also sticking inside the knuckle. So something we want to think about is the probable removal of this ABS wire right here with the sensor, because if all this is moving around, we want to make sure that our sensor is safe so we don't have to replace it if we don't need to. So I'm going to grab a 10mm socket. I'm going to remove the bolt that holds it on. All right. I'm going to spray it with some lubricant or penetrant, see if I can get it to move and hopefully pull it out. If it doesn't seem like it wants to come out and you're going to fight it too much, obviously, let's not break it. You know, just use your best judgment. So we've got our 10mm head right here. I'm going to use a socket and a ratchet. Just going to push it on, turn it to the left. I'm going to remove that fully. If I can get my socket back off. Get this right out of the way. There it is. And we're going to spray it with some penetrant. There we go, nice and wet, yeah. Cool. All right. We're going to take our hammer, and I like to use a small pry bar. I'm just basically going to try to push up against this and try to rock it that way. And then I'm going to come from this side, try to go this way, just a little bit. All I want to do is try to free up the sensor from inside the knuckle, okay? Seems pretty good. Okay. It's moving pretty well here. I'm gonna take it, pull it right out. I'm gonna put it someplace safe. Wherever you choose is safe, you put it there, okay? I'll just tuck it in there for now. Now I'm not too worried about that sensor anymore. What's gonna happen now, I'm gonna be hitting this, okay? Like I said, the wheel bearing's stuck inside the backing plate. So this whole unit right here is just, when it does finally come free, it's gonna say, I'm free, and go flying, okay? It's gonna come swinging down. We've got an e-brake cable. The e-brake cable's gonna hold it from going too far, but it will swing down. So, you know, if you're swinging lefty or whatever it might be, it might come down, hurt yourself, so you need to be very careful, okay? Safety first, #1 concern. If you're super worried about it, you can go ahead and put your axle nut on a little bit, all right? And that'll just make it so when it does try to come out, it won't come too far, you know? It's really up to you. I'm gonna take this bolt completely out at this point. The last one that we had back there, I'll show you it. This holds it to the wheel bearing to the knuckle. We'll just put it with the other ones. Got a nice pile of stuff. Yard sale, anybody want anything? I got my big fabulous hammer again. It's hammer time, okay? Here we go. Like I said, when it comes free, meh. It might not want to because I got my axle nut on there. That's my dream. Boy, if you're doing this on the ground, You're doing better than me. I got AC in here. I'm sweating. All right. So we've got that like that now, right? We can pull this whole thing away if we want to. We can get a pretty clear view of what's going on. Right in here, this little ring right here, this is actually the back side of the wheel bearing where it comes through the backing plate. That's why it's stuck. What was so hard to do is we were trying to get this ring out of the knuckle back here. Boy, that was frozen in there. I need to catch my breath for a second, really, but I'll keep talking because why not? I put a little bit more penetrant along here and along the back side. And now what I'm gonna do is I've got my axle nut. I'm gonna try to push in my axle a little bit. I'm just gonna grab on. Doesn't need to be too much, just a couple threads, okay? Now right where this crack is between my wheel bearing and my backing plate, I'm gonna go ahead and stick in my little pry bar. Okay, it's a pry bar. It's also got the hammering tip, so you don't have to worry about me hammering on plastic and poking my eye out. And of course I'm wearing my safety glasses. I'm gonna switch sides here, come over. I'm just gonna see if I can get in between there. If it doesn't seem like it wants to, we're gonna have to do something a little different, and that's okay. This is part of the fun of it, right? This is why we all love working on cars. Okay, so let's say that that's not working, because it's not, all right? I'm gonna take off my axle nut again. Put it aside. Now what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to get this whole thing out and away from my axle. Okay, we can get a clear view of everything now. This is garbage, right? I'm really not worried about the old one. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hold onto my backing plate. I'm gonna try bashing on this with my hammer. Bang, bang, get out, okay? If you had something you can rest it on, maybe a cart of some sort, or whatever you can think of, you can go with that. For what I'm doing now, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna whack it. Being very careful not to actually hit my fingers or anything. You have to remember that we're basically the e-brake cable's holding up the other side. So, you know, you could try to do something like this. Maybe somehow if you can figure out how to get it held up there, you know, you do you, boo-boo, whatever you wanna do. I'm just gonna do it this way, okay? See if it's moving. Looks like we got a bigger crack. Let's keep going, okay? Babe Ruth. Yeah! When this comes off, it's gonna wanna go flying. Watch out, camera guy. I love this part. Take that, e-brake shoe. There it goes. So here we are. We've got our backing plate. All right. We got this extra part. We'll throw that in the recycling receptacle. This is just going to go back on here. We're not going to do that yet. What we are going to do though is we're going to remove our axle, or move it I should say. Clean up all in here the best we can. All right. Make sure it's nice and clean. We're going to make a nice bonding surface for our new wheel bearing. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to get everything put back together. So first let's get things cleaned up, okay? So all I'm doing is I'm using my small screwdriver. You can use whatever you have access to. The reason why I'm using a small screwdriver is firstly because it's small and I can get in here. Secondly, because it's technically sharp enough that I can scrape off all the big heavy stuff. Then I can go ahead and use my little wire brush, make it nice and clean and pretty. But for now, I'm just gonna keep going with this. I'm gonna get off as much of the big chunks as I can, so I'll have a nice clean surface for my new wheel bearing. All right, here we go, friends. We have another product comparison for you. We have our old wheel bearing from our 2013 Subaru Outback, and we have our brand new quality 1A auto part right here. As you can tell, they're both the exact same, an exception of this one looks like it's much better. This one looks like it got beat up a little bit trying to come out, okay? We've got 4 mounting holes, 5 lug studs, if you don't count the one, or if you do count the one that accidentally came out, you know, whatever, we're not worried about that. This one's going in the recycling bin. This quality part's going into the vehicle. If you need this or any other quality part, you can always check us out at 1aauto.com. So here we go. I've got this nice and cleaned up, as good as it needs to get. I've got all the big flakies off of there. The bearing's gonna sit in nice and beautifully. Now what I wanna do is I wanna make sure that I hit this with some copper never sees. So someday, maybe 100,000 miles from now, I might need to do this wheel bearing again. I'm gonna be using my big fabulous hammer. I want it to come right off. Copper never sees. I'm just gonna go in here like that, try to get in where the bearing's gonna ride, along the outside where the bearing's also gonna sit, and then right inside this hole where the ABS sensor is, okay? Next, I'm gonna take my parts cleaner over my receptacle. I'm gonna make sure that my face is far enough away. Just gonna clean this up a little bit, get it ready to go. We'll let that dry off into our recycling receptacle. Well, we've got the wheel bearing off. I'm just gonna hit along these splines right here. I don't need to get onto the threads right there. That's not something that we really need to, be able to loosen up or anything over time. I'm gonna wanna put maybe a little bit of thread locker, or even I'm gonna go ahead and lock it down anyway, so I probably don't even have to use thread locker. But now that we've got never sees here, and we clean that down. Okay, so everybody, here we go. What I did is I took all 4 of my bolts, I put them through the knuckle from the backside, then through the backing plate, so everything's aligned, right? We've got our backing plate holding steady. All 4 bolts are pretty much ready to go. They're gonna go into our wheel bearing. Now I'm gonna take the wheel bearing, I'm gonna slide it over, try to get it into the knuckle without pushing all my bolts back through that I just worked hard at putting in the back. All I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna try to start these in. We don't wanna tighten down any of them until we get all 4 of them at least started, okay? Let's see, you might have to wiggle it a little bit. Use your ratchet, 14mm socket. That one's definitely grabbing in. I'm gonna start this one. When I tighten these, I'm gonna try to go crisscross. And I'm not just gonna go up here, down there, you know what I mean? One here, one there, one there, one there. I'm gonna try to go maybe here and then across, here, across, crisscross, basically. But as for starting them in, you can kind of just go whichever way you need to. The reason for going crisscross is because if I tighten up both these first, and then I, kind of canter it in at an angle, and then I go to tighten these, I might think it's tightened all the way down, but maybe it's just kind of wedged in, right? And so even though it feels like it's tight and I torqued it, well, we're gonna drive it down the road. The wheel's gonna be aiming out like this possibly, or whichever way it might be cantered, right? And if you haven't gotten the alignment and the alignment specialist didn't see it yet, you're driving, you might hit a bump. Now this is all gonna loosen right up on you, okay? So we'll just go crisscross. I'm gonna grab my extension for the back side of those 2 bolts. Still using my 14. So all I'm gonna do now is just bottom them all out in a crisscross pattern. So I started down here, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna go down here. Once I do that, I'm gonna torque them down, okay? So here we go, torquing at a crisscross pattern to 48 foot-pounds with my 14mm socket. And there we go. We got them all torqued down to 48 foot-pounds. So we've got the bearing torqued on, backing plate's nice and secured, bearing's going nowhere. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get ready to start remounting these e-brake shoes that we took off. I'm just gonna use a little bit of paste. You just wanna use something that isn't gonna heat up and melt down once it gets hot. Generally speaking, your brakes will get pretty warm. So if you use something that melts when it gets hot, it's gonna liquefy, get all over your brake shoes, gonna cause issues, okay? So something that we're just gonna go along here, right there, right here, right here, right there, and right there. Those are the raised areas where your shoe's actually gonna be mounted and sitting up against. When we put our pins through here with our springs and everything, it's gonna hold the shoe right up against those. All right, so I put a little bit of lubricant there, just helps keep things moving okay. You could even use a little bit up along here. Pretty much anywhere that your e-brake shoes are gonna be riding on. It's gonna help with vibration dampening and just keep things moving freely. It can't hurt to clean this down if you haven't already. I got it all cleaned down, so that's nice. This right here is our e-brake adjuster, okay? What this does is it adjusts out. That'll push your e-brake shoes out, so they'll be closer to the inside drum area of your rotor, okay? So you wanna make sure that this is all moving nice and free. What I like to do is I'll open it all the way up. If you wanted to, you could take it right apart and clean it. This one doesn't look like it's in bad condition, but if it was pretty rusted up, you would definitely want to clean it all up, So, I've got it all apart. Just gonna grab my stuff here. Just put a little bit of this in there. And the reason for that is it's going to help keep the moisture out, keep it from rusting up and causing an issue down the line. Now I'm just going to screw it back in. You want it to be pretty close to almost all the way in to start, and then we're going to adjust them out once we have it all together, okay? So I'd say that's probably pretty good for now. I'm going to do the same thing to this side. Use a little bit of my paste. Just get it on there. Looks pretty good. Get it so it goes in. Work it. Perfect. That's going to be able to move for quite a while. Very nice. So we've got this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our shoes. We're going to start mounting them on here, and then we'll get the adjuster ready. So we've got our e-brake shoe, right? It's got the little thing on it right here. This is a lever. So basically when you put on your emergency brake, it's going to give this a tug, right? It's going to pull on this. It's going to want to separate the shoe. It's going to give it a tug out, which puts it up against the inside of your rotor or the drum surface inside your rotor. Okay? So we need to make sure that we reconnect this to this cable right here. It's very simple. Just push the spring back, put it up in there like that. There you are. That was easy. We're going to take our shoe. We're going to line it up. We've got this all greased up, so that's nice. My locking pin and my locking hardware, spring hardware. Just gonna put the pin through this little hole in the backing plate right here, okay? I'm gonna come through the back side, just like that. I'm gonna put it through the hole in the shoe, right there. You'll notice the pin has a up and down flat surface. This has an up and down flat surface. So to start, you want them both going in the same direction. To finish and lock it in, you want that pin to be turned the opposite way. So I'm just gonna take this little pry bar, push it in, turn the pin. There we are. Make sure it's sitting perfectly inside those grooves so it can't come out. That pin will never turn on its own. I'll have to push this in to be able to turn it. So that's locked in beautifully. You can just take it, make sure it's into where it needs to go. Feels good. All right, we'll grab our other shoe. We're gonna do the same thing. Here's our other shoe, other side hardware. Pretty basic. Oh, yep, here we go. Here's our hole. So I'm coming through the back side. I'm gonna put our pin through. Put it through the hole in the shoe. Just let the shoe hang out there. I'm gonna drop the clip on the floor. It's typical. Okay, so we got our pin through our hole in our shoe. We're gonna do the same thing as we did on the other one. We're gonna take our pry bar, screwdriver, whatever you happen to be using, push it in. Give your pin a little twist so it's sitting in there. Make sure it's sitting right in the groove. Put this right up against the shoe, this up against the shoe. There we are. Oops. That's all right. Just slides right back in, right? We know how to do it. We already fixed it once. All it's gonna do is keep moving until we get the springs on there. We're gonna need to move it anyway because there's a little plate that we're gonna put in. So here's our plate. This is gonna go right in between here and here, okay? So if you need to, you can just pop that out of the way. No big deal. If the spring came off, it's really not a big deal. And just set it back in there, okay? It's got the little hooky do. That's gonna go inside there. Just like that, okay? Like this. Now I'm gonna take my shoe. Slide it in there. There we go. Feels pretty great. Got a couple more springs here. They're both the exact same. So you don't have to worry about which one goes where. Start freaking out. Ain't no thing. You got the hook that sticks out from the spring and the hook that sticks in from the spring. See how this one's kind of in towards right there? This one comes out. The one that goes out has to go into the shoe. Obviously, it can't go with this one going in there and then sticking out straight like this. The reason why it's sticking out is so it can go in there and then still be coming out to go right there. I'm gonna use my cutters. I'm gonna be very careful not to cut the spring. I just like to use cutters to grip because I find they have better grip than pliers sometimes on stuff like this. I'm just gonna put it right there, okay? So I go inside this hole and then I come over right here. I'm gonna grab the other spring. I'm gonna do the same thing. I got my sticking out part. It's gonna go in my hole. This one right here is gonna jump that ear. Cutters. Get it on there. Like I said, I'm not trying to cut the spring, so I'm not putting much pressure on squeezing it. All I'm trying to do is just get it over that ear. Looks pretty great. You can try to move things around a little bit. Feels good. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our adjuster. We're gonna set it inside here, and then we're gonna take our last spring, and we're gonna go from that little slotted hole down there to that slotted hole down there with the spring once we get the adjuster in. I've got my adjuster, I've got my spring. Just gonna take it, put it in here. Okay. Let me show you on the adjuster. It's got these two little ears, okay? Same thing with this one, two little ears. Those just fit over the shoes. It's pretty basic. I probably didn't need to show you that, so. But why not? I got it apart. Let's talk about it. You wanna make sure that the ears go completely around the shoe, okay? And they sit right inside those little bevels. Spring's gonna go right inside that hole like I told you. I'm gonna use my cutters again. Just gonna hold it, pull it over. If you notice that the spring isn't sitting all the way in there, you wanna make sure that you get it in, okay? So just use your strength. There we go. Okay, now we're gonna take our shoes. We're just gonna shift them all around. Feels pretty good. No springs came loose, nothing came shooting out. Everything's still aligned. Another reason for shaking it like that is to make sure that one of the shoes wasn't sitting off like this. See how far? It's right next to the backing plate there. And then over here, it's quite a bit away. If you were to try to put your rotor on right now, you're gonna be like bonk, bonk, bonk. The rotor's gonna be hitting here. Why won't the rotor go on, Len? Well, you skipped a step. Just go like that. Give it a little shake. Everything's nice and set in. Feels great. Now we can grab our rotor. We're gonna put a little bit of never seize around the bearing, but not onto here, okay? We'll put our rotor on, and then we can adjust up the adjuster that way. Something that you might wanna do is pay attention to which way the adjuster has to go to tighten this, okay? So you can just take your pry bar, just give it a couple turns, just like this. So while I'm turning this star, basically we'll call it a star, while I turn it up, it's expanding these shoes out, okay? So I've got it de-adjusted pretty far. I'm gonna try to slide the rotor over, and then once I have it in there, I'm gonna keep adjusting until I feel like the shoes are just barely touching that rotor, all right? And then I'm gonna go back out a little bit, just one or two clicks to the point that I don't hear the shoes touching the rotor hardly at all, all right? If you have the shoes touching the rotor, once you have it adjusted, what's gonna happen, right? This is gonna be a friction material up against the rotor friction material on the inside. Friction meets friction, it's gonna get hot. Your brakes are gonna overheat, you're gonna start melting things down, ruin all the work that we just did. So make sure that they're de-adjusted. It's just the emergency brake. When you pull up on that e-brake lever, it's gonna do its job. It's gonna expand these shoes out and they're gonna hit the rotor. We don't need the shoes hitting the rotor prior to that. Okay, everybody? So here we go. I've got my copper never seize. I'm just gonna try to get it around here, but not on the axle shaft itself, okay? Obviously not too much on the braking surface of the shoes either. While we've been working, maybe we've been touching the shoes a little bit with our greasy, oily hands. You could try to clean them up. If these are old shoes and you notice that they're really shiny or oily, you can take a piece of sandpaper, scuff them up, give them a nice clean surface again. Looks pretty decent. Yeah, they're a little shiny, but all this is the emergency brake, okay? It's your parking brake. So once this goes out, it's pretty much just holding your rotor nice and tight. You don't have to worry about too much friction like you're driving and you're using your brakes off and on. You don't drive using your emergency brake to stop, generally speaking. Maybe you do. I don't. But anyway, moving along, we've got our rotor. We're gonna try to slip it on, just like that. Give it a little spin. All right. It doesn't sound like it's connecting with the shoes, so let's go ahead and adjust it. Remember we wanted to turn that star upward to adjust the shoes out, right? So right now the shoes are pretty much riding right along here. Inside there, we'll imagine them, okay? As I adjust it, they're going trying to come out. And they're gonna try to touch up against this rotor. Uh-oh, Too far, Len. See? What if I left it like this now? We're gonna try to drive, that's not gonna move. So here we go. Now I'm gonna go the other way. I'm just gonna turn it down. Turn down for what? Because I wanna get rid of that noise. I got a little bit of scrape, not too bad. Let's try going back again. Now it's got drag again, so we know that we were pretty much in the right spot that last one. Let's go back 2. Come on. One more. There it is. Perfect. Okay, inside our old Subaru rotor, there should be a little plug that's gonna go right here. You wanna make sure you put that back in. That's gonna keep your debris, dirt, water, gunk, I don't know, whatever's under there. It's gonna get in here. We wanna make sure that's sealed up. If you don't have that boot still, maybe you lost it, maybe the last person that did it lost it, you need to make sure you fill this in with something. You can use a little bit of black RTV or whatever you might have, but you need to make sure that whatever it is isn't gonna go boop into there and then cause an issue in between the shoes and the rotor that we just installed everything. If you put in a rubber and it goes boop, falls in there and you're like, aw, meh. Well, what's gonna happen? You just imagine it. I don't need to explain it to you. Here we go. I'm gonna grab that little boot. Looks like this right here. I'm pushing from the backside. Woo woo. There it is. Now I'm gonna put it in. Looks pretty good. Imagine you're pushing it in now though. No, I'm not gonna do it. I don't wanna do it. But imagine you were pushing it in and thing went boop, fell right in there. What are we gonna do? We're gonna find that rubber boot, do it again, okay? Very simple. We've got our ABS sensor. We got our ABS sensor hole. Line it up. We got the hole lined up with the hole down there. We've got our bolt that we remove, 10mm head, and put it in by hand or however you want to put it in, whatever. I'm just gonna put it in by hand, goes in nice and easy. Got my ratchet with my 10mm. We don't need to tighten it up too much. Feels pretty good. Give it a little wiggle. Nothing moves around. Everything else is still connected in. All right, now we can get our caliper bracket mounted on. So we've got our cleaned and prepped caliper bracket here. We've got our 2 caliper bracket bolts. I put on a little bit of thread locker. It's your prerogative. You do you, boo-boo. We're gonna start both these bolts before we tighten either of them down. It's just a 14mm head, so I'll grab that real quick. All I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna bottom it out, and then we're gonna make sure we torque it down. So here we go, friends. I'm gonna torque these up. It's 48.7 foot-pounds. My torque wrench doesn't do points, so I'm gonna go 49. Hopefully Subaru won't get mad at me for overdoing it. There we go. I'll just do them both one more time. Just for good measure. You don't have to. There we are. We'll go ahead and put on the pads and then the caliper, and we'll put those bolts in and torque those down as well. So a good thing to do is to just go ahead and put on a little bit of silicone paste on the caliper or the muscle of the brake, right? This is gonna help with vibration dampening, noise reduction. Every time you brake, it's gonna help reduce noise inside the car. Next, we're gonna put on our pads. We've got our squealer side. This is the, basically you can tell, I call it a squealer because once the brakes get down to where that is gonna meet up with the rotor, it's gonna start making noise, and that'll tell you that it's time to replace your brakes again. So you can watch this video again, and I'll show you how to do it again. So here we go. I'm gonna put the one with the squealer on the back side. I'm gonna put the other pad on the outside. If you had to hammer them in or try to really squeeze and try to finagle them in, it was an issue. Odds are you didn't clean up the bracket well enough, and that's okay. You just take it back apart and give it a little bit more, okay? It's no big deal. I'm not gonna get mad at you. It's your car. Anyway, so now we've got our caliper onto where our pads are. We've got our 2 caliper mounting screws. These mount the caliper to the caliper bracket. Go ahead and snug these down. So now I'm trying to snug these up and bottom them out, and I'm noticing that my caliper slider is spinning. That's okay, I'm not worried about it. I'll just grab it with my pliers. I'll get them to the right size first, of course. That'll be helpful. There we are. I'm gonna go ahead and torque these down. Just make sure that they're both bottomed out. I've got my torque wrench set to 20 foot-pounds with my 14mm socket on there. There we are. Put this on here. Those are both tight. Now we'll just take a peek at everything we've got together. We made sure we tightened everything up. Everything's torqued, looks pretty great. So we've got our bleeder screw right here. We can go ahead and get our recycling receptacle underneath there, or our hose, whatever we have. We're gonna open this back up, and we're gonna wait for a strong trickle of fluid to come out. But while it's closed, what we can do is we can pump up the brake pedal, make sure that that piston's fully extended, and pushing the pads up against the rotor first, and then we'll go ahead and open it up. Okay, so here we go. I'm just gonna pump up the brake pedal, get it nice and firm. Feels pretty good. All right, now we can go back out there. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and put our axle nut on first. Okay, so I'm just gonna take my 32mm. You can use your ratchet or whatever you have access to. You wanna tighten it down, but basically just bottom it out, and then we're gonna torque it, okay? Don't sit there if you're using an air gun like I have now and just hammer on it, you know, and just keep going. You don't need to do that. We're just gonna bottom it out, just like that, okay? It's close. Now we can go ahead and torque it down, and that way there it'll be at the right spec. So what I like to do is I like to take a long handle pry bar, set it flat along the studs, get it so it's locked in. I don't have it, you know, angled up so that this corner is hitting up against there. All right, it's very important to make sure it's as flat as possible so you don't mess up your wheel studs on your brand new bearing. I'm going to 177 foot-pounds with my 32mm socket. There we are. It's very audible, so that's cool. Okay, so now we have our groove in our axle right here. So what we need to do is we need to pin down this nut into that groove, and that's going to help lock it in. So all I'm going to use is a flat punch and my hammer. It's going to keep slipping off. That's all right. So that's pinned down nice and tight into that groove. This nut will definitely not be able to back itself off no matter how long it's on there. Time to get the wheel back up on here. We made sure everything's nice and tight. We're ready to lift this. What we want to make sure we do is we don't go ahead and bend down like this and try to lift it up with our back. It's very dangerous. Try to preserve your back. Just take it like this, roll it up your leg, use your ab muscles to lift it. Hold your wheel on there, grab one lug nut, start it on. There we go. Now the wheel can't go anywhere. I can release it and start all the others. We'll get them bottomed out, and then we'll go ahead and torque them down. So now it's time to get this torqued down. I've got the majority of the weight of the vehicle off of the wheel, but I do have the wheel just barely on the ground enough to make sure that the tire doesn't spin while I'm torquing. I'm gonna go to 88 foot-pounds with my 19mm socket. I'm gonna go in a star pattern. Now I'm just gonna go around again for good measure. There we go.
Thanks for watching. Visit 1AAuto.com for quality auto parts shipped to your door, the place for DIY auto repair. And if you enjoyed this video, please click the subscribe button.